welcome to the Grid Talk podcast, and this is the Spanish Grand Prix preview there at the Circuit de Catalunya. As always, we have Wajid on board for the preview here, and normally reviews and anything else we want to talk about. How are you, Wajid?
I'm good, mate. So, how are you? We finally got there.
Yeah, okay. Well, people don't need to know it took 70 times to actually get a podcast started.
It's always fun.
Yeah, I
how
mean,
how you been keeping though?
well, not too bad over the last. Well, it's literally been 24 hours since we last spoke. So,
It has as well.
Monaco, we've been through that. It was quite a interesting race in different kind of ways and things like that. So we now move on to Spain, Barcelona, a circuit everybody knows off by heart pretty much. I think they can tell us which bump, etc. Only two drivers, I believe, on the grid have driven this layout before, right? Because we are changing the layout at last. Some common sense. That silly little chicane at the end has disappeared, hasn't it? And we're back to the old flat out corners towards the end of the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I, they brought in the stupid chicanes for safety and oh, maybe there'll be an overtake. Yes, coming from a high speed corner high speed corner off camber into a tiny chicane. There was bound to be plenty of overtaking, wasn't there, people? So I'm glad they've got rid of it. I think it does mean, spoiler alert, Red Bull might have a field day given the length of the straight they're now going into.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back. It's good to be back at the old layout. Hopefully it just there's some overtaking in Barcelona, and that because as that is always the problem, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think last year's race was such a terrible one. We had George Russell popping it up there, really being quite aggressive on the strategy, actually. I know we're quite critical of George in the Monaco preview, but he went well here last year, so there's a good chance of that. We'll see what this will be a perfect thing to see what all the upgrades have happened. But just before we go into the Spanish Grand Prix, there has been news over the last 24 hours that Zach Brown and McLaren have signed Rob Marshall from Red Bull in a new technical director for engineering and design role. These titles get longer and longer, and we've seen what McLaren do when they have too many titles in the thing. So we'll see. But another
Well,
one.
They have to put titles in their team because they're not getting any anytime soon.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
No, but true. Another one of the Red Bull, Adrian Newey group, who have left the team recently. We had Peter Pompidou, who left to go to McLaren and will be working alongside Marshall. And there's David Sanchez, who left Ferrari and now has gone to McLaren. So McLaren trying to build up, trying to nick something from every pot, really, to try and put it together. And that doesn't always work. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Red Bull at this rate, because a lot of people are starting to leave there. And I don't know if it's because somebody like Adrian Newey obviously gets all the praise and well-deserved, don't get me wrong. But these guys are sitting in his shadow for a long time and then sort of wanting to step out and go elsewhere.
Well, I mean, if you speak to Helmut Marko, none of these people matter. None of these people are A-grade engineers. So who cares? Who cares where they go? It's only Adrian Newey, Helmut Marko, Max Verstappen, and Christian Horner that built the entire Red Bull team. If you speak to him, so who cares? But no, in all seriousness, I think in terms of McLaren, they're bringing in engineers for 2026.
Yeah.
I think Aston have done a really good job with the B spec Red Bull.
Yeah.
So quite clearly, those engineers have remembered things that Adrian Newey said. But if it's the same that happened with the Mercedes, it's the same that happened with Ferrari in the early 2000s. If you start losing important engineers at one point, regardless of how good your squad is, at one point, when you start losing this many senior figures, it will start affecting you. So obviously, Red Bull, given their strength and size, I don't think they're too worried at the moment. But a couple more big losses, I would take a serious look, because the thing with the cost cap, they can't go out and throw money at they can't go out and throw money at engineers anymore, because that's part of the cost cap rate. That's part of the cost cap. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, that being said, Max Verstappen might be a six-time world champion by then. So
Yeah, I mean, we've seen obviously Adrian Newey move on, and from Williams and from McLaren, and things go downhill. So the passing on of information to his future people hasn't always gone to plan, shall we say? You know, obviously, McLaren, I think he left in 2004, because he went straight to Red Bull in 2005. So he probably had influence on the next few cars. But as soon as the rules completely changed in 2009, McLaren sort of fell apart a little bit and then come back, and but haven't really been that dominant force. Same that happened with Ferrari when everybody left Ferrari. Haven't really been that dominant force since sort of Brawn and everybody like that left. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it's just yet another one, like you say, who's leaving, and in the end, Adrian Newey isn't going to stay there forever. He really isn't. So it's going to be quick. And you've got to remember, we still are in the age that Adrian Newey's designed cars are actually put on a computer by like 5-6 different people, because he draws them on paper with a pencil and all the rulers and protractors. So yeah. It's I mean, to me, it's amazing that he still does that and produces such brilliant cars. You know, that's amazing. But that you have that extra step in the process as well is just another string to the bow. But yeah, who knows? It's Red Bull, and it's another story for Red Bull to be out there, and maybe they'll go and sign somebody else. They normally have somebody waiting in the ring. So that is the main storyline we've had this week, heading towards the Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously, a lot of people go, who we don't know who Marshall is, but he's obviously been a key part of Red Bull staff for us to have it announced that he's leaving, or that McLaren are signing him. So there'll be a bit of gardening leave as well, I think, probably.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. It doesn't matter in what industry. When you're at that sort of level, there is always gardening leave and things like that. So
I think people just want a year out, and then they want to carry on with the job. So that's the best way to do it.
I mean, would anyone is anyone going to complain that they're going to get paid a year's salary to do nothing? I don't think so.
Don't know anyone who's done that. Yeah, so we'll move on to the Spanish Grand Prix now, because there's not a lot to say about that. You know, we've said everything there is. So moving on to the Spanish Grand Prix, it is been held 63 times. First held in 1913, not at Circuit de Catalunya. Circuit de Catalunya come into the frame in 1991. We all remember the sparks of Senna and Mansell going down the wheel to wheel down the straight, and I think it's probably the last wheel to wheel action we've had at Catalonia. No, I'm only kidding. It hasn't been as bad as people think in terms of a circuit. First winner there was Nigel Mansell in Renault. Mansell won it twice. Williams' domination to start off with, winning the first 4. Then we're into the Schumacher era. And then I would say Hakkinen era, because he won 3 on the trot and was about to win in 2001.
It should have been 4.
It should have been 4, yeah. He was, 10 corners away?
Not even 10 corners. He was at the top of the hill, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was at turn 8, I think I want to say, because 9 is a flat out where Heikki Kovalainen had his incident. Yeah, so turn 8. But Um, then we had a bit of a Schumacher era, and then since then, it was a bit hit and miss. I mean, we had Raikkonen, Alonso, Massa, Raikkonen, Button, Webber, Vettel, the famous Pastel Maldonado race, Alonso, and then we went into a bit of a Lewis Hamilton era with it, split obviously by Max Verstappen winning on his first ever drive for Red Bull. Slightly helped there, shall we say, by the Mercedes, but
Wasn't slightly help, was it? It was literally it was literally because of the Mercs.
yeah, but we get very much races here where I suppose if you think about it over years, normally a couple of cars will run off ahead and they will have quite a good battle, but it won't be just wheel to wheel, it'll be tactical. So you had Lewis and Max back in 2021 where they did the extra pit stop. You had Alonso and Maldonado the year Alonso and Maldonado did it. You also had, I think, the year Button won, it was not too far away or something. So, you know, there's quite often these little jewels that go off ahead, and anything can happen. But then also, because of people know the circuit so much, it's normally a 2x2 grid, isn't it? You know, we normally get teams quite equal. Overall, most wins here, Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton. So if Lewis takes a win this time, he is the most successful driver ever in Spanish Grand Prix history. We also can't forget the home hero Fernando Alonso, who's won twice at Catalonia 2006 and 13. Ferrari, the most successful constructor. I think we can all hold our hands up and go, well, that's not improving over the next few days. Mercedes next up on 9, so 3 behind. McLaren and Williams both on 8. Red Bull only successful 4 times around the circuit of Catalonia, which is kind of weird because the Red Bull's always been a good handling car, and it's a lot of fast corners in Spain, so it's kind of weird how that doesn't sort of correlate normally, does it?
Well, I mean, they could have had extra wins. Like, obviously, go back to 2021. They got outgunned on the strategy. There was the Pastor Maldonado year where no one expected Pastor to be there, and they did come into that race in favourites. I do remember Lewis was the one that actually stuck it on pole before he got disqualified for, I think, a fuel infringement.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have enough fuel to give a sample.
Yeah. And then, to be perfectly honest, up until sort of 2020, the Lewis was so dominant in Barcelona. Dominant in Barcelona. So I think it's a case of they might have had the right car, but I just think this has just been one of Lewis's tracks where he's calm, he's done the job. And to be honest, aside from 2021, I don't really remember Lewis being challenged in any of his wins. To be perfectly honest,
I think they're generally sort of. I'm sure there's one with Vettel. I seem to remember a battle with Vettel. Whether Vettel actually ended up finishing there. I mean, 2019 I have here, he was 4 seconds clear of Bottas, 7 clear of Verstappen. But I've got a feeling something must have happened for it to be that close.
I think it was a late safety car.
I just feel like there's somewhere was it 2017? Vettel was 3.4 behind. Yeah, I feel like it was quite similar to the Max Verstappen one, where they decided a different kind of strategy, which meant they got wheel to wheel at some point. I can remember Ferrari and Mercedes, but obviously Mercedes. But that's when Vettel was well and truly in the championship hunt because he was leading it.
He was leading
at
the
that
time.
race.
Yeah, he was. So okay, cool. So historically, there's been one where maybe 2, but it's generally sort of been a lights to flag sort of win, really. So you know, it will be interesting. I don't see, spoiler alert, I don't see the Mercs being there. And I think Max is going to add an extra string to his bow. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a third victory for Max Verstappen in Red Bull. We were talking on my last podcast about how Renault and Honda aren't mentioned in the
Yeah.
aren't mentioned on the World Championships. Actually, Red Bull have won twice with a Renault engine here, once with their own engine, Honda, and once with a Tag Heuer, which was
when they rebranded the Renault engine
Renault.
because they don't want to.
Yeah,
because
so
they didn't want to be.
it's a kind of an interesting way for them to put it. But yeah, so it's always been a Grand Prix that's sort of a bit like Hungary. It's got its critics. It's got its oh, we can't overtake round here. But I can't remember many Grand Prix round here where you can go, this is the most boring Grand Prix in the world. There has been a couple, don't get me wrong, but there is opportunities to overtake, especially with the DRS. And now we've got this interesting final corner. Depending which way the wind goes over the circuit, it's going to make it quite interesting for these cars.
It will. It will. And I think the Red Bull have said that they might be bringing an upgrade. This will be the first sort of test for. This will be the first test for all the cars and the upgrades they've been waiting to bring into the European season. So it will be interesting to see how things play out. Last year, Max did get caught out by the change in wind.
Yes, and sights
and science. So it does happen. It catches out the best of them. I just think the problem with Barcelona, and obviously and you alluded to it earlier, because they do so much testing at Barcelona, the teams know the track inside out. Generally, the data doesn't change much, even if they resurface or things that are resurface or whatever, things like that. Barcelona has now got to the point where it's either they either need to stop testing there, or they might need to find a new circuit for the Spanish GP, in my opinion.
Well, they did have a look, didn't they? At first, they've said Valencia. The original Valencia was one choice, but that became the European Grand Prix. They have said a Valencia street circuit. They've mentioned Madrid as well.
Why is this obsession with street circuits?
I think it's because they don't have to build it. They don't have to build facilities. They don't have to build around it. So that's why that seems the cheapest version.
But then that Formula One just becomes a Formula E feeder series.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't see what's wrong with staying at Catalonia. Personally, I know they do a lot of testing and they have a lot of data there, but that has gone now. Like this season, we've gone to Bahrain. It seems like they're going to carry on doing that now. COVID seems to be died down relatively and all that. So, do we see a situation where the Catalonia Grand Prix gets better because they're not testing it?
I think the teams have got so much data at the track, because you need to. Cool, we've not done testing there for 2 years, but for as long as I can remember, where was testing?
Well, it's generally been Catalonia or Jerez.
Jerez, yeah, exactly. So, and obviously they've not. The last time they went to Jerez was in 1999. So
yeah, I would say Jerez is a little too tight to go and race.
Yeah,
these cars.
for these particular cars, you can't go to Jerez. But they don't even go do testing in Jerez either, are they? So like this is the problem when you got so much data and so much analysis at a track. It's going to take It's going to take at least a generation of not testing.
You're right with the data they've got. It's a situation where they've just got a little bit too much. But at the end of the day, you could say the same for Silverstone, and that produces side-by-side action and everything like that. There's something about the circuit layout. But then, personally, I don't hate the circuit layout, so it's hard to judge.
I get what you mean, but I think with s- with Silverstone, there's the medium, the flowy
Yeah.
medium high speed corners. They lead into like the hanger straight to cops. They lead into places you can overtake. With Barcelona, aside from turn one, where are you overtaking at the track? And I know we're
Yeah.
going back. I know we're going back to that conversation yesterday of, oh well, China had the most Grand Prix
Yeah.
overtakes and blah blah blah. But so I sort of thought about the comment yesterday. The only reason Monaco was memorable was because of the Red Bull mistake.
Yeah.
It wasn't the actual race itself.
Oh
It's
no,
just,
but that's why it races are made talkable not just by side action. And
but okay, but going back to statistically, if there's more
yeah,
overtakes, statistically, if there's more overtakes in a race, generally it's more exciting, isn't it?
yeah, but you could also say if we go through the overtakes, we'll just stick to Barcelona, just as we're obviously on the
Yeah, of course.
topic. What Grand Prix do you remember from Barcelona? You obviously remember Senna, Mansell, side by side. We remember Hakkinen retiring. We remember the wet drive in 1996 because it was Schumacher's first win. We remember Maldonado's battle, not really overtakes in that one. We remember Max's, not really overtakes in that one.
Excuse me.
So with Grand Prix, it's always a story behind this. This is the thing with modern Formula One. A lot of people go, "Oh, we need overtakes, we need this, we need that." It's the story around the whole situation. So, let's say, for example, I'll bring it up again. Abu Dhabi 21. Just want to trigger a few people.
Dun,
If you
dun,
bring up Abu Dhabi
dun.
21, the story of them being equal on points, forget the last lap ever happened. Forget all of that. It would still be remembered because it was equal on points. Perez tried his best to get Max back into the battle. Lewis drove brilliantly all day. There'd be different things, but it wasn't because there's side by side action all the way through the race. So everybody has to kind of, and I'm not saying you don't, but just in general,
Oh,
everybody has to look at the broader picture of the Grand Prix itself. And I mean, we'll take 2012. Maldonado wins. Williams come from absolutely nowhere to take a pole position and maybe not quite take pole position, but take the win. And then we had the battery fire afterwards as well, and
oh yeah,
everything just sort of
fell apart.
everything just fell apart altogether, and Williams were never seen again until Martini turned up.
Okay. I think what the issue is then is this particular incarnation of Formula One is unlike every other sort of domination period, like Seb, like Michael, like Lewis. There hasn't been this false narrative and false hype of look how great the racing is, look how
Yeah,
amazing everything is, because because like Seb 20 like Seb 2011, or was it 2012, is one of the most sort of dominant, like like you said on yesterday's show, stick it on pole, he drive sort of 30
disappeared.
to 30 seconds 30 seconds up the road, but the rest of the racing behind it was quite good. Just
Yeah,
people were annoyed that obviously Seb was sort of 35-40 seconds up the road, but do you ever remember a level of hype that this is the greatest period of Formula One history, so like we're currently in now? I think that's the overriding issue more than anything else. I think sort of, I'm gonna say it, the rise of the Drive to Survive era and and Formula One Twitter and and these these social media and Liberty Media inviting these social media stars to Monaco and things like that, because there's all this false hype and false look how great this era is. I think
yeah.
I think it's just pissing people off now.
I also think, and this is something I've thought of for a while, and it really interested me. I mentioned yesterday a watch along with Monaco, which I watched, and people looking back at videos from previous years, and they'd go, "Oh, how do I keep up with this race? Because there's no timing screen down the side of it, timing tower down the side of the screen." And I'm like, that is the thing with modern Formula One. You seem to feel like you need to know everything and you need it on a plate rather than try and work it out. I mean, I remember the days, and you probably remember as well, when the top six come across the bottom of the screen,
Yeah.
and then it would roll to the next
That's
six,
6.
and you'd be sitting there going, "Oh, I wonder if he pit." Well, we know it takes so long to pit, so if he pits, he'll come out in front of that. Oh, hang on, it's going to have to scroll around. Something could happen in that time, and things like that. And you didn't have this instant data, and I think that's half the problem now.
It's instant gratification now. It's instant gratification all the time. I know we're sort of stemming away from the Grand Prix, but
Yeah,
we will loop it back to
yeah,
the Grand Prix, which is the fact that like like Monaco was Red Bull might lose, Red Bull might lose, Red Bull might lose. Again, going sort of going sort of a bit forward. Do you really, unless there's a massive problem, do you see Red Bull losing in Catalonia, especially with the new change to the circuit?
personally, I don't know, because I still I am gonna hold on to this, and you're gonna laugh, and you're sighing already. I still think Mercedes are gonna come back at this Grand Prix and be competitive for the win in some kind of position. I just do. I think this is a circuit they've got so much data about. This is a circuit, remember, where they had in first testing. Was it last year or something? Yeah, it must have been. Was it last year they tested here? I
It would have
feel
been.
like they
It,
tested here
it
last
would.
year on the
Yeah.
first days.
Yeah. It would have been last year.
Yeah, because they come out and they were fastest, then they went to Bahrain, and it just fell apart because they put the zero side pods on. So now they've got a sister. They've got some kind of setup, which they know isn't too bad from last year, on a similar kind of side podded car. It's going to be. I just think they're going to be thereabouts because they were last year. And also, I just want to add something because we were saying about overtaking and that.
Yeah.
The Spanish Grand Prix used all these circuits. Jerez, not known for its overtaking. Jarama, where Gilles Villeneuve held up everybody for lap after lap after lap.
Not known for overtaking.
The one on the mountain of, and I apologise if I murder this, Montjuic, is it?
Montjuic. I think
That
that's
place.
yeah.
Yeah. That was obviously taken away due to deaths of fans and it being a bit dangerous, but not really known for, we've just looked at it before we were here. Roads aren't exactly wide.
That's not.
And that's been pretty much it in terms of modern racing, unless it's like ovals or things with hardly any corners whatsoever. So you look at it and you go, well, just generally in Spain, Valencia, not known for its overtaking either.
It's not. What an awful track.
I mean, it's one of them, but maybe it's just a Spanish thing. Maybe it's just I don't know what it is, but maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the tarmac they use. I don't know, but we do get overtaking in Spain, normally down into turn 1, and now, well, the braking area is not so harsh now for turn 10, which is a bit of a problem, I think. I think they should have made it a bit sharper, but, maybe stick with the hairpin, but I understand why they changed it back. We have seen overtaking into 4 as well. So we're not going to see a Rossi Lorenzo through final corners. We're not going to see that. But I just think, I don't know, maybe we're in for a decent race. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping.
Maybe you are. I mean, but with that, with your hope, I can't wait to sort of crush your, can't sort of wait to crush your hope until in our next preview race. But yeah, I think you have more hope for the race than
Yeah.
I sort of do.
Well, we'll just very quickly go through the driver standings after Monaco. We had Max Verstappen on 144 points, Sergio Perez on 105. They're the only two drivers to win races all year. Fernando Alonso third on 93 after his second place. Obviously now going to his home track. Maybe Aston Martin, but you're not known for your straight line speed at the moment, so yeah. Mercedes 69 for Lewis. Well, sorry, Lewis Hamilton on 69 for Mercedes. George Russell on 50. 2 points behind that is Carlos Sainz on 48. 42 for Charles Leclerc. And Lance Stroll down on 27. That puts the constructors as Red Bull on 249. Aston Martin 120. Mercedes only a point behind on 119. And only 29 points back from that are Ferrari. And then you go into Alpine, who are on 35 after their surprise podium, I think we could say, in Monaco for Esteban Ocon. So who is going to Spain with the most pressure on him, shall we say? And we've got to think, it's home race for Sainz and Alonso, but who's got the most pressure on them going into the Spanish Grand Prix?
Check. Take away the home sort of. I think for the first time in years, the home fans believe they can have a winner in Fernando, but realistically, the most pressure is Checo. 39 points behind, an absolute clusterfuck at Monaco. He was awful. He was terrible. Said it last time. I said it last time, and I'm gonna categorically say again. Anything other than a win for Checo at Spain, and you might as well just call this world title off. Max hasn't finished lower than second all year.
For me, the most pressure, I get why you say Sergio Perez, but for me, the most pressure is on the second Aston Martin driver of Lance Stroll. This is a circuit which he knows. He's done plenty of testing around here. Even before he was into Formula One, he obviously drove for Williams quite a bit. I think 27 points compared to your teammate on 93. It's okay. His best drive is probably when he had broken wrists.
That's mad, It's crazy when you think about it.
He came into this season at Bahrain. He ran so well. I mean, I was praising him so much because he was about 2/10 off Fernando, and in the race he finished about 12 seconds back. And then he is now, quick maths, 73, 66 points back.
I was letting you do the maths on that.
Yeah, I was trying. 66 points back. And I know it's Fernando, and I know he's been getting podiums, but Lance has just disappeared at times, and he is in the best car he's ever had. And I even mean in terms of the Racing Point, the pink Mercedes.
For me, Lance Stroll isn't under any pressure while his old man on the team. His old man's not going to get rid of him.
I think I agree with you there, but I just think he needs to start getting results, or even his old man's going to start questioning things, because his old man is already saying we shouldn't be finishing third, we should be starting to try and win races, which obviously is quite far back from Red Bull. So I understand what he's saying. He's saying we've made it, we've got to this stage, we now need to take the next step. We haven't just done it in like a freak result, like when Vettel finished second in Hungary, later to be disqualified, but those kind of results, freak results, it's not freak results now, it's consistent results with pace. And if Lance isn't there or thereabouts, and say Aston Martin now finish fourth, they probably won't finish fifth, we don't expect Alpine to catch them, but say there's some kind of freak thing over the next couple of months, and Alpine start challenging them, and they finish fourth or fifth in the Constructors' Championship, this season's been a fail for Aston Martin.
I want 100%, absolutely. So I'm going to throw this question out to you. would you test Felipe Drugovich? Would you give Felipe Drugovich a test session instead of a Lance Stroll?
Personally, I'd stick him in for FP1. You know, like they do. I'd try him somewhere. Maybe, you know, somewhere like this would have been perfect in Spain, but I understand why they probably wouldn't. You know, maybe somewhere like Silverstone, stick him in or something. But I don't think Felipe is the answer either. There's got, you know, they need to find a driver who can come in and hit the ground running. Felipe is going to take a couple of races to do so. So I don't know who you've got to be starting to look at reserve drivers with experience, and the only ones you can think of, and we're not going to allow Daniel Ricciardo to go there. The only one you're looking at is Mick Schumacher because of a Mercedes engine link.
Yeah, that's not. Then that's part. So that's not happening.
But
So
it probably won't. But
Lance is safe. I just disagree. I just think Lance Stroll is safe until his old man sells.
Well, we've got a discussion with Honda that they like to bring a Japanese driver in. They're going to Aston Martin into 2026. So, are we now thinking who's the next sort of Japanese driver who could come through? And by then, I don't think it's Yuki. I think that's too far ahead for Yuki. He's lost his drive by then, in my opinion.
It'll probably be the ladder after. I've forgotten his name. The current
Yuasa.
ladder after Yuasa. Yeah, it'll probably be Yuasa, won't it?
Possibly. I mean, who knows who the next person along is? Honda's even been known to go to Super Formula and go, "Hello, we've got a 40-year-old. Can he drive your F1 car?"
Shout out Yuichi Ide.
Yeah, exactly. Ide, Yamamoto.
Motor.
You know, who knows? Takuma Sato might come back. He's currently only doing the ovals. He wouldn't do a bad job, but to be fair.
I mean, he is an Indy 500 winner.
Twice.
Exactly. So
yeah.
put some respect on. And he wasn't bad in Formula One.
No. Only one podium though. That was the downside. Indianapolis for 1 year. So yeah, we'll see. And I personally think, let's see what Alpine do with this weekend as well. Because say Lance Stroll has a bad weekend and Alpine have a good weekend, Esteban Ocon's 6 points behind Lance Stroll in the Drivers' Championship. 6 points in an Alpine that was near the back of the grid for a couple of races.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to, obviously they've taken what sort of Renault HQ said to heart, because since then there has been a massive turnaround. But I also think some of that has to do with excuse me, has to do with sort of Gasly getting used to the car as well.
I don't think it's just the car. I think it's the environment.
Yeah,
he's not in a Red Bull environment anymore.
And look, let's be honest. They would have scored good points in Australia if they didn't decide to play Destruction Derby. So they were both very, very quick in. They were both very, very quick in Monaco. Obviously, third place, a massive surprise for Esteban. But they were both massively quick in. They were both massively quick in Monaco. And I think I don't know. I don't even think it's a Monaco specific circuit. I genuinely think they've got a decent package in that car.
Just needs unlocking.
It does need unlock. It's very, very quick down the straights. It's probably quicker than the Aston down the straights. So we'll see. I've openly said Lance Stroll shouldn't be in Formula One anymore. He loves having interviews saying, "Oh well, people don't know my rise and stuff." Listen, mate, you only got the seat at Williams in the industry because Williams needed the funding.
Yeah.
So, and you've not done, aside from one pole in Turkey, you've not done anything. Oh, sorry, and a podium in Baku.
I would also throw out there that I think that's why I think he's under pressure. You know, Lando's coming good as well. He's only 15 points behind Lance in the Drivers' Championship, and then Lance is out of the top 10. That's why I think he's under pressure, because Aston Martin have high hopes now. I think that's probably about it for the for the preview, and now we'll move on to our predictions, which, as you may know, our predictions are predictions that don't come true, pretty much.
I did all right. I did all right in Monaco.
Yeah. Oh, the other piece of news before we move on, I just remembered Alfa Romeo Haas. We mentioned it yesterday. It seems like that would be from next season when Alfa Romeo have left Sauber. Interesting. Because it would certainly mean that the second seat at Haas would have to be almost Ferrari owned.
Yeah, what?
But then who have Ferrari got to bring in? The only person I could think of off the top of my head is Oliver Behrman, and I don't know if he's ready yet.
Let's watch this space. That's all I can say.
It's an interesting one because obviously it involves Jean Haas and Gunther literally giving away one of their seats,
and we know how well that went down after Schumacher.
Yeah, I mean, K-Mag and Hulk aren't doing bad jobs this year. But anyway, prediction time.
So, after the news, it is now everyone's favourite part of the show. Especially mine and Dave's, given how crap we are. Predictions! Yay! So
here we go.
So I'm not going to give the current scores because we'd both be currently fighting relegation, to be perfectly honest. But
we're doing worse than Derby. Football reference for those who don't know.
All we know is I took the lead. Yeah, after
you're point ahead. That's all everybody needs.
That's all anyone needs to know. So look, let's get straight into it. I'm sure
1 point. I can get this. Come on.
I'm sure this week is going to be a car crash like every other week.
Yeah.
So Dave, as always, top 3 for qualifying.
My top 3 for qualifying is going to be Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez.
So as we said, as we said in Monaco, we give a lot of credit to Lewis Hamilton, and I can see that's not wavered with Dave's predictions. So you genuinely believe in the Monaco upgrade?
I'm sticking with it. I told you till after Spain, I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
I know my word, mate.
I am going Max. I'm going Max Fernando Leclerc.
Max Fernando Leclerc. I could see that, yeah.
I think Leclerc's one lap pace is ridiculous. So, and I think Fernando with the home crowd and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might sort of like Lewis at Silverstone. It might just give him. He might find that extra tenth or two to really wring the neck out of the car. But I just that long straight and that triple DRS system that the Red Bull has, just can't see past. I can't see past Max at this moment.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fair enough. We will move on to race, and so race predictions for Wajid first this time.
Am I gonna do it? 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 Fernando, Lewis, Max. I did it.
You come for the home hero.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, for myself, do you want to explain it or not? No.
I just think that it's home crowd. He's finally, after the best part of 10 years, he's in a car that can genuinely win a race. I don't know. It's just victory number 33 at home in the
Coming from the guy who couldn't see past the DRS system in qualifying.
Yeah, but
which is there to overtake people.
Yeah, but obviously anything can happen in a race. Yeah. We talked about how Max was Max was incredibly lucky at Monaco, and those all sort of habits are getting there. As my Has my Wi-Fi gone?
No, you're still here.
Wi-Fi's fucking gone.
You're still here. Still here. Still here.
Oh, right. Everything dropped.
No, you're still here.
All right. So yeah, I don't know. Everything, like the entire screen went black.
No, you're still here.
So let me go back.
We saw
So,
every minute of it.
you can keep it in. You can keep it in if you like, to be honest. So yeah.
I thought he was just trying not to make an excuse for why Max was third.
No.
No, my Wi-Fi's gone. I can't see.
No, so I just Max is not imperious Max of last year. There's yeah, I genuinely think a lot of his wins and his second place this year have just because that car is so dominant. It's not because Max is not driving at that 2021 level or even the back end of last year where he was elite. I just think he's prone to a mistake, and if the right driver and to be honest, there's only two drivers in Fernando or Lewis puts enough pressure on him, I think he's prone to a mistake, and that's what I'm putting it down to. I see a Max Verstappen mistake that's going to cost him.
Well, I've been saying it for weeks now. So here comes that prediction that you've all been waiting for. In third place will be Fernando Alonso. In second place, Max Verstappen. And in first place, Lewis.
You know you had Lewis winning in Monaco as well, right?
Yeah. But this is I couldn't not say Mercedes win here because we've been waiting. You've all been waiting for this for weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
So my prediction is Lewis, Max, Fernando.
It's interesting how we've got the same three drivers just in different orders.
Yeah, well, you know, I believe in Mercedes and Brackley, and you obviously don't. So next up, we've got our random predictions, which we are absolutely terrible at. So first up for a random prediction will be Wajid. Would you like to go first? So I thought you had one ready.
No, Lance Stroll to get knocked down Q2.
God, you are after points, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I don't care. I don't care.
He has no shame. I'm going to go Alex Albon in the top 10 of qualifying.
Oof.
So through to Q3, Alex Albon.
What am I going to go with? What's number 2? I'm going to go with Yuki Tsunoda, top 10 finish.
In the race, I presume.
In the race, obviously.
Yeah. That'd be that would at least stop him being 11th, so that's always a plus. Even though he was 15th last time, wasn't he? So I am going to predict that the race will be won on I was going to say on a free stop strategy, but I think that might be a bit pushing it in the end.
Even I think that's mental.
I think that we're going to have 5 retirements from a 6 retirements from Grand Prix.
I predicted rains this weekend.
You said it was going to be dry in Imola.
I predicted rains this weekend.
In the race or
in the race?
In the race. Okay. Sorry, you said the weekend. That's 3 days.
Yeah.
I thought you were stretching your bet.
No. In the race.
There's one spot of rain in Barcelona on Friday night.
No. In the race. I don't care. I'm shameless this week.
Yeah. Okay. So that means have we got 2 each now?
No, I've got 3. You've got 2.
Okay. So I've had the points position for Albon. Sorry, qualifying for Albon and points. No point.
I've
top
got
10 qualifying for Albon
you got top 10 qualifying for Albon. I've got
and 6 retirements.
it's 6 retirements. I've got points for Yuki, Lance out in Q2, and it rains on race day.
I think I will have one more. We're going to have a McLaren in. We're going to have. Do we have points? No, let's have an Alpine in the top 6 of the race.
Oof. Sticking your neck out there.
Yeah, an Alpine in the top 6 of the race. So good points for Alpine.
So I'll be extending my lead this weekend, and that's all I care about.
I don't know, because Alpine have been quick, and we've got a podium last time out, so why not?
I mean, Monaco's very unique, though, isn't it?
You just told us it's not a unique thing with Alpine, and we've got a very quick car.
No, I said
I can clip this video so that we can put that bit in. Just as a
yeah, you can. Listen, I'm shameless. I don't care. Go for it.
Well, that's our predictions anyway. As I said, it's going to be interesting to see whether we can actually get it right on a circuit we have a lot of data about. Probably not. We haven't been good if you've been keeping up with it. Again, the Spanish Grand Prix on this weekend over on obviously your normal channels, Sky Sports and things like that. I'm just checking what time everything is on because it changes every week.
I believe it's 2:00 because they're in Europe.
Here we go. The schedule for the Spanish Grand Prix. So practice 1 starts on the 2nd of June, which is Friday at 12:30. 4:00 for practice 2. 11:30 on the Saturday for practice 3, with qualifying on at 3:00. And at 2:00 is the Grand Prix. So same timings as Monaco, basically. So if you were up for Monaco and things like that, and then obviously the next Grand Prix, which is not that far away either, will be Canada, where we have the different kind of times for all of that. So we will inform you there.
Obviously, just quickly, for anyone out of the UK that is listening to the show, these are UK times.
Yes, these are. I'm just trying to check. Are these actually? No, these are actually bang on our times now, aren't they? Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I get confused between GMT and GMT+1. Just it's the worst thing because I do iRacing, and it's all in American times.
Which is what?
So as soon as you say UTC, you think, oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. But then it's like +1 now for us. So half the time I've almost missed my races.
So please, for any international listeners, please do check your local listings.
Check your local times and local channels as well, because you probably haven't got Sky Sports F1. You probably got Sky Sports Germany or whatever. Wajid, thank you for joining us again. It's been good. We've got obviously no sprint races until Austria now, so we've got some proper Formula One with no silly gimmicks like DRS and things. Anyway, thank you for joining us as always.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you all on Monday, hopefully, for the review of the Spanish Grand Prix. I've said this was a preview. Anyway, we'll be here for this review of the Spanish Grand Prix. Will Max Verstappen make it another win around Spain to be a 3 times winner? Will Lewis Hamilton be the most successful driver ever around Spain? Will Fernando Alonso or Carlos Sainz be able to really bring home the bacon for the teams at home? Yeah, okay, a bit too far, especially with Sainz. But it's going to be an interesting Grand Prix, whatever, and hopefully you will all enjoy it and come and join us to get our opinions on Monday. Goodbye.
Peace.